What's up, tennis fans? Sleepy Picks here. The qualifiers have concluded. Let's take a look at the remaining matchups that we have, and we'll talk a little bit about each section of the draw. Our final match is Marcos Giron against Martin Landaluce. And Landaluce able to come through qualifying. He beat Mackie McDonald and Tirante. Mackie McDonald, he beat 6-3, 6-4. Tirante, he beat in the final round 3-6, 7-5, 6-4. So good on him coming back from a set down. One thing to note is he actually played McDonald in the Challenger last week and lost to him in 3 sets. So pretty nice turnaround there from Landaluce. He gets McDonald kind of where it matters. He's now able to qualify for a Masters 1000 here, where McDonald is sent going home. Marcos Giron coming off the final of the Phoenix Challenger, losing to Ethan Quinn 7-6, 4-6, 7-5. Really tough match. Really nice performance from Quinn there. But again, Giron is definitely going to be primed now and ready to play in this tournament. I think playing the tournament after Indian Wells is a smart idea, just to kind of keep your momentum going, and he certainly did that, making the finals. No head-to-head with these guys. Landaluce is 20 years old, so he's got a few more years to go, maybe to really break through into the top 100. He is ranked 151 currently, but he's been kind of nipping here at the potential of qualifying. I think he's qualified for some tour events. I think we've talked about him before. Got a big serve. He's got some big groundies. He's a taller guy, so he can get to a lot of balls. He did have a nice win over Coleman Wong in the qualifiers of the Cap Cana Challenger. Beat Pennington Jones in the first round of that. He lost in the qualifiers of Indian Wells to Shimabukuro, and we remember Shimabukuro playing pretty well in that qualifying round. He did have a nice win over Alexander Blocks, and Alexander Blocks, I believe it was the next gen finalist last year. He's kind of a guy to look out for as well here as we start to go forward into the season. Not really much more that I have to say. I think this is Giron's match to lose, obviously. I think Giron's going to do a good job kind of returning the serve, neutralizing some of these big shots that he's going to see from Landaluce. I'm going to take Giron. It's probably going to be straight sets. It'll probably be like 3-3. Here's a look at Alcaraz as part of the draw. I did pick him to win this tournament. Obviously, as I said before, this is going to be a much harder draw. Fonseca in the round of 64, maybe Korda in the round of 32, or Pericard, who's going to give you a lot of problems there with the serve. And then potentially coming out and playing Kachanov, who he's gone 3 sets with. Also, Giron, that Giron-Darderi match, that would be a really interesting one there. And if Giron gets out there, he can be a tricky customer too for Alcaraz as well. Giron has a lot of offense. He takes balls early. He can be a little bit of a thorn in the Alcaraz side there. But let me know what you guys think. Let's move on to the next part of the draw. Next match, we have Kouame playing Svajda, and Zach Svajda able to get through the qualifying here. Really like that he's got a couple of matches under his belt, and they were not easy matches. Both 3-setters, able to beat Colton Smith 6-7, 6-3, 6-1, and able to beat Aguilar 6-0, 6-7, 6-2. And we know that Aguilar's been playing some good tennis. He's a great defender, so good on Svajda to be able to figure it out and beat a player of that caliber. The Colton Smith match, I believe, was delayed from yesterday, so I think Svajda had to play 2 matches today, or at least finish up one match and then play another one. So maybe a little bit tired, a little bit fatigued going into this first round. I don't think it's going to really matter. Kouame, on the other hand, we remember him from Montpellier. He played Kovacevic they went 3 sets. He was able to kind of ride the momentum of the crowd, who got behind him. Obviously, the Frenchman. In a French tournament. He wins the first set 7-6, but loses the next 2 sets 6-2, 6-2. Kova playing very good tennis. He was able to kind of figure out moving Kouame around a little bit, starting to come into net, and just be a little bit more offensive and force the teenager to to play kind of like some tricky shots. If Kouame gets a hold of the ball, on the forehand side, he's just destroying the forehand. He's going to be really fun to watch. I definitely recommend, if you guys can get your eyes on this match, watch him. He's extremely fun player to watch. He's going to be a player that I think we're going to see going forward in the next 5 or 6 years. But I think this is Svajda's time here. Svajda, the 23-year-old, 15-4 on the outdoor hard courts, 17-5 overall, and that's actually the same record as Kouame this year. Also 17-5. He's been playing a few more challengers, but the one difference is all of Kwame's matches are on the indoor hard court surface. So we got to kind of take that with a grain of salt, this record. He hasn't played outdoors yet. He hasn't experienced, maybe the heat that we're going to see in Miami, the humidity. If the wind is blowing, the sun's going to be out. There's a lot of different angles here that Kwame's going to have to focus on, and then also he's going to have to beat a player of the caliber of Zach Svajda. For me, I see this match being a straight set win for Svajda. I think Kwame's going to have a few highlights to add to the highlight reel. I hope we see this. I hope we see him at the French Open. I'm not sure if they'll give him a wild card. He is pretty young, but I really hope they do. He's extremely exciting, and I don't know. I kind of have a weird feeling on clay. His forehand, his serve aren't going to be as big, but maybe he can ride the crowd to a French Open upset. Obviously, he's not going to beat the top 25 or 30 or 40 guys, but maybe if he draws someone easy, a qualifier, someone of that caliber, he might be able to get through in a match. But for now, I'm gonna pick Zach Svajda. I think it's gonna be Svajda in straight sets, probably 2-2. I would say this is his easiest match of the tournament so far. He's got that experience. He's played on these courts now for 2 matches. I really like that. So give me Svajda in straight sets. And here's a look at Fritz's completed section. And man, I was really hoping that Kouame was going to play someone not of the caliber of Svajda. I think there are a few qualifiers that would have come through that maybe he would have had a chance against. I think this is a tough match for him. Just the way Svajda plays, the defense that he can play, and he's obviously Kwame's going to have some of those big shots, but I just don't think they're going to be enough against a player of the quality of Zach Svajda. So it is disappointing. I was hoping he'd be able to get around there, maybe move up a little bit in the rankings. But anyways, looking at this draw, Fritz at the bottom could potentially play Shapo or Van de Zandschulp. That would be a really interesting match. We have Draper playing Opelka. That could be a little bit of a tricky match. We talked about this before when Opelka played Shelton. It's very tough when it's your first match coming in and the guy that you're playing is going to give you absolutely no rhythm with his serve and his forehand. So we'll be interesting to see how Draper plays that match. Then on the bottom, we have Lehechka Svajda. Man, I really like Svajda to get through there. I don't know if Ethan Quinn can beat Casper Ruud, so maybe we would have Svajda and Ruud in the round of 32. I'm just waiting for one of these matches for Svajda to get out and make a little bit of a run and make a name for himself. He is only 23 years old, so he does have time to do that, but I really think this is the year for him. I just hope he makes it into the Wimbledon main draw. That's exactly where he'll find his success. He loves the grass. 14-3 on the grass last year. But anyways, enough of that. We'll move on to the next part of the draw. And our next match is 2 qualifiers. Jodar playing Hanfmann, and I like this draw for Jodar. We'll talk about that in a second. We got Hanfmann. He came out. He beat Leandro Reedy 6-3, 6-4 in the first round of qualifying, and then Van Asch, the Frenchman, 6-1, 5-7, 6-3. We talked about Van Asch. He's a solid challenger player. There's a few challenger names that you kind of think of that are successful down there. Alexander Blocks, Van Asch is one of them. Collignon is another one. Jodar's been playing a lot of challengers and having success down there as well. So keeping those names in mind, we're starting to see these guys start to sneak into the main draw. Landaluce is another one as well. So these guys are starting to sneak into the main draw here, and I think as we start to go on, in the next few years, I think we'll see some of these names become staples in these draws. Maybe not win, but like at least going through a couple rounds. Jodar, on the other hand, beat Manoj Damni. I haven't heard of this name before. 6-3, 7-6. And then he beat Benjamin Bonzi 6-4, 6-4. Really nice win there. We know Bonzi's been playing pretty well. He qualified for Indian Wells a couple weeks ago. And Jodar's sitting at 14-5 on the outdoor hard courts. Hanfmann only 4-3 on the outdoor hard courts. Hanfmann not really an outdoor hard court guy. 2025 he was 12-9. 2024 he was 8-11. 2023 he was 6-8. Jodar 2026 he's 14-5. 2025 23-9. 2024 0-1, but he only played 11 matches that year, and then 1-1 in 2023. So the last 2 years, or this year and last year, Jodar's been just dominating on these outdoor hard courts, and I think we're going to see more of the same here. I like Jodar to get through this match. No head-to-head from these guys here, but obviously Jodar's got to be thinking about that Tabilo loss. 6-1, 6-2. It was under an hour. He wants to come back and prove himself here. He does well in kind of like the hotter temperatures as well, so I think this will really fit his game. Give me Jodar in straight sets. And here's a look at Musetti's part of the draw. And guys, I'm kind of angry that I already did the predictions, because I feel like Jodar can be the sleeper to get out of this draw. I know the Pamplemousse chose Cobolli as his sleeper, and I can definitely see that. I can see him getting at least out of this part of the draw. But man, I didn't like the way Musetti looked. I think Jodar could take him, and then you got Brooksby or Echeverry. I think Jodar can take either one of those guys, and then a matchup with Tommy Paul, who's going to give him like balls that he's going to be able to hit and strike on the forehand. I would love Jodar against him. Maybe a matchup against Collignon. That would be the two challengers going at it. One person that, and I'm not going to go back on a pick, but one person that I really regret not taking here is Dimitrov. And honestly, we know Dimitrov coming back from the injury. He's a little bit older. It's tough for me to take him. Collignon I really like. I think he's also the next generation type guy coming up here. But Dimitrov loves these courts. He always plays well here. He's got a lot of solid results in Miami. So I think we got to be careful of him. If he wins that round, that's going to be a real tricky match for Cobolli. So we got to look out for that. I'm like 50-50 on him and Collignon. I need Collignon to really show me here that he can do it. That would be a really good win for him. Obviously, we said Dimitrov, a little bit older, but he's still going to be able to rise up here. He loves these courts. He loves the way they play, his ability to take the ball early on these courts and really challenges other players. It would really challenge a player like Cobolli as well. But let me know what you guys think about this one. Let's move on to the next part of the draw. Next match, we have Bashilashvili playing Navone, and no head-to-head here from these guys. Navone coming off the Cap Cana Challenger, winning it there, beating Hart in the first round, Mochizuki in the second round, Royer in the third, in the quarterfinals, Blocks in the semifinals. We know Alexander Blocks, good challenger player. Navone able to get through him, 3-6, 6-3, 7-6. Really nice win there. And then Bellucci, 7-5, 6-4, who's been playing pretty good tennis as well. Had a nice match, we remember, against Tiafoe in Acapulco. And this is pretty good. This is amazing for Navone. He was 0-4 on outdoor hard courts. Now he flips it, and now he's 5-4. Now he's got a winning record on the year. So really impressive. Did lose to Marcos Giron in 3 sets at Indian Wells. So now we're back in the main round of Miami. He plays Bashilashvili, who came through qualifying, beat Kipson 6-3, 6-1, beat Shimabukuro 6-2, 6-1, and that really scares me. So Bashilashvili also played the Phoenix Challenger last week. He beat Mychek 7-6, 6-3. Remember, Mychek went 3 sets with Novak. He's playing good tennis. Got a walkover from Cazaux. Cazaux in this draw. We'll have to see how he does there. And then loses to Mute 7-6, 6-4. He played in Indian Wells but wasn't able to qualify, losing to O'Connell in the final round in straight sets. This is a really tricky one because seeing these scores for Bashilashvili, we know Shimabukuro playing solid tennis. Kipson obviously playing solid tennis, had a couple of big wins in Acapulco. And just seeing Bashilashvili clean the floor with them, that's kind of scary. I came into this thinking that I want to go with the guy that's riding hot right now, and that's Navone. He's on the 5-match winning streak. But then I look over and I'm like, Bashilashvili has only dropped 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games in Miami. So this is going to be a 3-setter. For me, 100%. I think we got a Navone that's very confident. We got a Bashilashvili that's coming in feeling pretty confident about himself. Bashilashvili 4-6 on the outdoor hard courts. I don't think we mentioned that yet. I'm going to go with Navone. I think he still gets that confidence, and he wins this one in 3 sets. Next match, we have Tsitsipas playing Fery, and if you're wondering where you've heard of Fery before, he had a nice win against Kaboli in the Australian Open. Straight sets, 7-6, 6-4, 6-1, and that was back when we were kind of like scratching our heads a little bit about Kaboli, what was going on. All of these first round exits, just wasn't able to get it going. And then finally Kaboli gets to Acapulco, starts to show out a little bit. Well, shows out a little bit in Delray Beach, then wins Acapulco and starts to get a little bit more confidence going there. Really, really like that. Very able to get through Burchaga, who's a clay quarter. He beats him 2-6, 6-4, 6-4. Then he beats Buse 6-3, 3-6, 7-5. Nice win there to get through the qualifying. Important thing to note here, that third set against Buse was up 4-1. So he had some chances, very able to fight back. We like to see that, especially, these guys coming through qualifying, very able to fight back here and get into the main draw. And that's got to give you a lot of confidence, when you're playing against somebody like Tsitsipas. Now, this is going to be a tall task for him here to beat a player of the caliber of Tsitsipas. Tsitsipas coming off that 3-set loss to Shapo, and that was a really tricky match. They were back and forth, and then Tsitsipas, you remember we talked about him in the third set of that match. He's serving to stay in it, goes down love 30, switches rackets, wins the next point, but then proceeds to lose the game. Just kind of weird things from Tsitsipas always. Tsitsipas sitting at 6-5 on the outdoor hard courts. Fery is 8-3 on the outdoor hard courts. And interestingly enough, Fery only playing the Australian Open, then he just played last week in that Cap Cana Challenger, wasn't able to qualify, lost to Mejia of Colombia 6-3, 6-2, and then able to get through qualifiers here. I think this is going to be Tsitsipas. I don't think it's going to be easy, though. I really feel like it's going to be a little bit challenging. We always know that the whole match is going to be based on what Tsitsipas can do. If he's coming in, he's striking the forehand, he's leaning in on the backhand, then yeah, he might be able to win this match 3-3. Something tells me we're gonna have one close set, like a 7-6 or a 7-5, and maybe Tsitsipas loses that set, but then is able to bounce back in the next two. But I think this is all Tsitsipas, so give me Tsitsipas in straight sets. And here's a look at the DeMinaur part of the draw, and don't you kind of feel like Vatra will probably breathe a sigh of relief that, somebody like Jodar didn't fall in that qualifier spot. I think that would have caused him. That would have been a lot of issues for him. But if we get this, Bublik Berrettini, super exciting match. They would have a ton of shots here, a lot of shot making there from those guys. So that would be a really exciting second round match. Fils and Blanche, same exact thing. A lot of shot making, big serves. Fis's big forehand going up against the Blanche big forehand. That would be also an exciting match. Tsitsipas DeMinaur. I mean, like 8 years ago, that might have been a final of a Masters series. But here we are looking at it as a second round match. And then Navone and Vatro. Vatro getting probably the easiest of the 4 second round matches. So that's good. He's going to be able to save a little bit of energy. I expect him to get through that one. Looking at this draw, I feel like Fils can get through here again. Remember, he did make the quarterfinals last year. He's got some points to defend. I would like Fils against either Tsitsipas or DeMinaur coming through there, and then maybe playing Bublik. Bublik hasn't looked great all year, so I would favor Fils to get out of this section of the draw. But let me know what you guys think. Let's move on to the next part. Here's a look at Shelton's part of the draw. And guys, I really feel like this first round is one of the toughest that I've done so far. A lot of these matches are just toss-ups. They're 50-50. They can go either way. It's going to depend on how these guys are feeling day of, going out there. I think that really speaks to the depth of the tour for sure. But I think once we get into the tournament too, we'll start to be able to kind of feel out who's playing better on this surface. Rather than just kind of going off cuff here. And also, it doesn't help that a lot of these guys are meeting for the first time. Here's another matchup very similar to that. We have Royer playing Tirante. And Tirante 6-5 on the outdoor hard courts. Royer only 2-7 on the outdoor hard courts. No head-to-head here from these guys. Tirante able to get through as a lucky loser. He beat Deduro of Germany 6-2, 6-3, and then Landaluce he lost to 3-6, 7-5, 6-4, gets the call, able to come in here, now gets to play Royer. This is a pretty good matchup for him. He doesn't have to play one of the Americans or somebody that might be a little bit trickier for him. Royer, on the other hand, played the Cap Cana Challenger last week. He beat Bautista Agut 6-4, 7-6, lost to Navone 6-2, 7-6. Navone obviously went on to win that. Royer also lost to Bonzi 6-4, 6-3. You remember we did pick Royer in that matchup. I thought he was going to be able to step up. It was the battle of the two Frenchmen, and I thought Royer would be able to kind of step up and beat the veteran Bonzi. Not able to do that just yet. I think we're going to see something similar here. He's a real gamer. He's going to stick around here. He's not going to make anything easy for Royer. I like Tirante. I like that he's played in the qualifying already, that he's kind of familiar with the tournament, the surface and everything. I think that's going to really benefit him. So give me Tirante. It'll probably be 3 sets. Here's a look at Shelton's part of the draw. Would really be looking forward to, honestly, the Shelton Diallo round of 32 match would be awesome if Diallo can get through there. But that Medvedev Shelton round of 16 match would also be a popcorn match for me. I hope Medvedev gets through there. I'm not sure how much tank he has left or how much gas he has left in the tank to get through some of these matches. Kova's going to be a tricky match for him, and then even Cerundolo might be a tough one. I think Shelton gets the better of him there, but we'll have to see. Let me know what you guys think. Let's move on to the next part of the draw. Here's a look at Zverev's part of the draw, and the final match we have to talk about is Quentin Halys versus Liam Draxl, and this is an opportunity for one of these guys to get through here. Liam Draxl hasn't really played much on the top end of the tour, losing in the first round of the Cap Cana Challenger to Sakamoto. We talked a little bit about Sakamoto. He's kind of a guy to look out for here. Draxl did play at Indian Wells, lost to Buse in the first round of qualifying. Buse playing pretty well. Draxl did have a nice match against Sebi Korda in the quarterfinals of the San Diego Challenger. Remember, that's the one that Korda lost to Svajda in the finals of. And Draxl losing 7-6, 6-4, but nice to keep that match pretty close there. Draxl did play Zach Svajda in the qualifying of Delray Beach. He lost 2-1. And honestly, I think we're going to see something very similar here. You know, Halys is a little bit more of a grooved veteran. You know, like he's been on tour for a while. He's played some of the top guys. He kind of know what it takes to get through some of these rounds. Looking at his record here, Halys is 12-8 on outdoor hard courts. Draxl is 9-6 on outdoor hard courts. Halys with a loss to Adam Walton in the first round, 6-3, 6-3. That came as a little bit of a surprise. We did pick him to win in that one. And then in the Phoenix Challenger, he was able to beat Travaglia 4-6, 7-6, 7-6, and lost to Mute 6-4, 6-4. Not a bad showing there. You know, we're not asking Halys to beat anybody within the top 100. Draxl, a 147 ranked player. I think Halys is going to be able to win this one in straight sets. No head-to-head for these guys again. For me, this is a big opportunity, really good opportunity for Draxl to get a win in a big-time tournament, big-time ATP tournament, and get some points, kind of move closer to that top 100 rank. Let's see if he can do it, but I'm going to go with Halys in straights. Look at Zverev's part of the draw. We could have that potential rematch with Fokina and Tien, and then maybe even the rematch with Zverev and Tien. I do kind of see Lerner getting out here. I think that Kekmanovic match is going to be really tricky, but that's definitely a nice match to have, especially if Lerner is able to win that. To have a match like that under your belt, you're definitely going to play a lot of rallies. You're going to feel the aggression of Kekmanovic, so that'll definitely groove him for a match maybe against Fokina or Halys. And then he's got to play Zverev in the round of 16. Not sure if he was able to get through that one. Zverev, obviously a top-notch player there. We do have Cilic kind of lurking as well. I'm not sure he's going to be able to get through someone, even Popperin. Not sure they're going to be able to get through someone like Nakashima just because of the return of Nakashima. He's going to make you play a few extra balls. Cilic likes to get the big serve in, you know, aces on returns or serve +1. He likes to kind of play those points. Nakashima's not going to allow him to play those types of points, so he's probably going to get through that one. I would see Zverev getting out of this section. Let's move on to the next part of the draw. Here's a look at Felix's part of the draw, and we got 3 matches here to talk about. First one is OConnell playing Fucsovics. OConnell able to get through qualifying. He beat Magia 7-6, 6-3, and then Alexander Blocks, nice win for O'Connell to get through that one. 4-6, 6-4, 6-4. He sits at 5-6 on the outdoor hard courts. Fucsovics is 5-5 on the outdoor hard courts, but we do remember that Fucsovics had a pretty nice showing at Indian Wells, beating O'Connell in the first round, Musetti in the second round, and then losing a tough one, 6-3, 6-3, 7-5 to Arthur Fils. Their head-to-head is 2-0 for Fucsovics. Obviously, they just played a week and a half ago with a 7-5, 6-3 first-round win for Fucsovics, and then a 6-0, 6-4 win in 2025 on the clay in Bucharest. I think this is going to be a Fucsovics win. I think it's going to be a little bit closer, though. I feel like O'Connell's a little bit more grooved on the surface now. He got through qualifying. I think it's going to be Fucsovics, but give me Fucsovics in 3 sets here. Next match, we have Cazaux playing Barrior's Vera, and Cazaux getting his first match of the season in the Phoenix Challenger, beating Fernley 6-2, 3-6, 6-1. No head-to-head for these guys here, but Cazaux did give Bashilashvili a walkover in the round of 16, the next round of the Challenger. I assume that he just wanted to play that Phoenix Challenger, kind of feel everything out, get a match under his belt before he goes into a match that matters way more to him. But looking at no head-to-head here for these guys. Barrior's Vera coming through qualifiers, beating Basaveretti 6-3, 6-2, and Vukic 6-3, 7-6. That's a nice win for him, a straight set win. So he's got some familiarity here with the courts. I gotta go with Barrior's Vera. I think this is going to be a tough match. I think it's going to be a big ask for Cazaux to win a match like this, just because he's coming back. He's gonna have to groove himself back into shape, back into form here. The three-setter against Fernley. Bears Vera maybe same level, maybe a little bit of a step down from Fernley. So that was a nice win for Cazaux, but I think this is just going to be a real tough match for him here. We got Bears Vera with the familiarity coming through qualifying. Both matches straight sets, so not going to be too tired. I'm going to go with Bears Vera in 3 sets. Wow, guys, so full disclosure, I totally just did a video on Baez playing Bellucci, and I was kind of complaining about how hard these matchups are going to be, but then I looked again, and I was like, oh no, Bellucci's playing Michelsen, so now it's Baez and Walton, and this is a little bit easier for me. We have Walton, who was able to get through qualifying, beating Rodesh 6-2, 6-4, and then beating Hijikata 6-3, 6-7, 6-1. Nice 6-1 set there. Hijikata playing pretty well. Remember him from Indian Wells. I think he got out and won a few rounds. Baez, on the other hand, coming off the Indian Wells run here, beat Sang in the first round, Lehechka in the second round, 6-4, 6-1 over Lehechka. Really nice match there. And then ran into a wall in Medvedev, 6-4, 6-0. Medvedev obviously making it out to the finals. Tough match there for Baez. But I really like Baez in this matchup. No head-to-head here from these guys. We did have Walton get out to the semifinals of the Cap Cana Challenger, beating Jerry first round, Andrade second round, Kekmanovic in the quarterfinals, 2-6, 7-5, 6-2. That's a nice win to beat him there. And then losing to Bellucci, 6-3, 7-5. Bellucci making the finals and losing to Navone. I'm going to go with Baez. I think it's going to be Baez in straights. I feel like one set's going to be really tough. I don't think that Walton has what it takes to kind of challenge a guy like Baez. We got Baez's 10-3 on the outdoor hard courts. Walton sitting at 9-9. And that's including some of these challengers that Walton is playing. So give me Baez in straight sets. Here's a look at Felix as part of the draw, and there's a lot of opportunities for a lot of guys here. Let's keep in mind that Mensik at the bottom right there is the defending champion, so he's going to be doing everything he can to get out of this section of the draw. Don't forget, he didn't have an amazing rest of the season, so a lot of points here to defend. If he loses, to Baez in the second round, he's going to be losing a lot of points. We saw Draper kind of drop off a little bit after those Indian Wells points were taken off his record there. So definitely got to keep an eye out on that. I would honestly pick Mensik to get through this part of the draw. I know Felix is playing really well. I just don't trust Felix yet against a player like Mensik outdoors. Obviously, indoors I think is a totally different question, but I do see Felix getting out there playing Mensik. Mensik's going to have a couple of tough matches, though. Baez in the second round, then maybe Tiafoe in the third round, Felix in the fourth round. That's a very tough tournament. So we'll have to see what happens here, but let's move on to the next part of the draw. Here's a look at Sanders' part of the draw, and we have first match up is Michelsen and Bellucci. Michelsen with a 1-0 head-to-head. He won in 2024 in the DC Open. 6-3, 7-6 over Bellucci in the second round. That is an outdoor hard court, so really like that for him coming into this match. Definitely gives you a little bit of confidence knowing you've already beaten the guy. Plus, you can kind of go back to the video, watch the match. Obviously, you're a much better player now, but you want to see kind of what you did right, what you did wrong. That definitely helps there. Michelsen coming off a fourth-round appearance at Indian Wells, losing to Medvedev. We talk about all these guys losing to Medvedev. He's just a wall. You kind of run into a wall. But Michelsen having a really nice showing there. Beating Aguilar, who we talked about has been playing pretty good tennis. He gets a lot of balls back. He's a little bit tricky. 6-3, 6-4 there for Michelsen. Beat Humbert in 3 sets. And that was a match where, I said, everyone was on the Michelsen court. People were, leaning over and climbing the fences and stuff to get a look. And it was a nervy match for Michelsen, but he's able to get through there. And we talked about how we liked his chances against Fritz, and he was able to beat Fritz in straight sets, 6-4, 7-6. Fritz cracking a couple of rackets there. And Fritz had a ton of opportunities in that second set, but Michelsen able to shut the door and win it in straights. I think if it went 3, it might have been a much trickier match for Michelsen. And then just a little bit too much, not enough left to beat Medvedev there. Bellucci, on the other hand, he lost in the first round of Indian Wells to Diallo. We did pick him there to win that match, and you know, at that point, Diallo was kind of moving in the wrong direction, and I thought Bellucci was moving in the right direction, making the quarterfinals, losing to Tiafoe, beating Fokina in the round before that. So I kind of liked where he was going, but Diallo just played really well. I mean, that surface and the ball, everything just suited him there. So tough matchup for Bellucci. Then Bellucci is able to go to the Capcana Challenger. He beats Maestrelli in the first round, Hurkacz in the second round, Collignon in the quarterfinals, Adam Walton in the semifinals, and loses to Navone in the final. And he didn't lose a set until the finals. So pretty nice run for him there to kind of get the confidence, get comfortable. He comes into qualifying. He plays Jerry in the first round, loses 6-3, 6-1. Beats Jerry 6-3, 6-1, and then beats Murphy Casson in 3 sets. I want to pick Michelsen, and I think I'm going to. We have Michelsen's 8-5 on the outdoor hard courts. Bellucci is 12-8 on outdoor hard courts. And my one reservation here is Michelsen has to bring the A game, I think, to beat Bellucci. I think if he kind of comes in and he starts and brings like the B- B game, I think this is going to be a really, really tricky match. I think this is already going to be a really close match. Probably going to be like 7-5, 6-4 for Michelsen or a 3-setter for Michelsen. But if Michelsen doesn't bring that A game, I think he's going to be in a little bit of trouble. So let's go Michelsen. I'm going to go Michelsen in 3 sets here. Next match I'm really excited about. Not about the match itself, but the match that could follow. We have Buse playing Dzumhur, and Dzumhur sitting at 1-6 on the outdoor hard courts. Not great. He's coming off a loss in Indian Wells, 3-3 to Fernley. We picked him there because I kind of said like I liked him having that outdoor hard court experience, but not really able to show it at Indian Wells, losing in straight sets. He goes to the Capcana Challenger, plays Coleman Wong, and I don't know if you guys saw a little bit on social media. He had a little bit of a run-in with Coleman Wong. He was getting very frustrated. Wong was celebrating on some of his errors, and then I believe Dzumhur hit a double fault for Wong to break, and Wong kind of gave a fist pump and said yes to his box, and Dzumhur took that a little bit offensively, started kind of going at it with Wong. Wong not really paying attention to any of it, but Dzumhur wouldn't shake Wong's hand at the end, so kind of a little bit of a controversy there. He loses to Wong 3-6, 6-4, 6-2, and more of that is probably just frustrating from losing than anything. Buse, on the other hand, able to beat Draxl in the first round of qualifying at Indian Wells, loses to Hijikata. We talked about Hijikata being able to come out and make a little bit of a run at Indian Wells, so pretty nice. That was a 3-set loss there. Tough matchup for him. Beats Echargui. I know I'm pronouncing that incorrectly because I know I looked it up, and but anyways, he loses to him 6-3, 6-7, 6-4, and then beats Coleman Wong 6-2, 3-6, 6-3 to qualify for this tournament. 2 3-setters, really nice fight from Buse. We talked about him on the clay courts, 21-year-old Peruvian player, and we know him from that big win over Fonseca in the second round, and then beating Berrettini following that up, losing to Tabilo. Obviously, Tabilo playing good clay court tennis, but I like Buse here. I think he's kind of grooved. He's young. He'll bounce back from these tough matches here. He's got a couple of days to set up and get ready for this. And what I was talking about before, the match that I'm excited about is if we're able to get Buse and Sinner. I want to see that match because I think Buse, I don't think he's going to beat Sinner, but I think he's going to rise to the occasion and kind of show everybody, kind of announce himself to the tennis world of who he is. Hopefully he doesn't lose 1-1. but like I'm hoping he can kind of like rip a couple of shots and like really push Sinner. Remember, Sinner coming off this really tough Indian Wells win, like just a very grinded out final against Medvedev. So we'll see what he has to offer here. But give me Buse in straight sets. And here's the final look at Sinner's part of the draw with my picks for the round of 64. Would have some really good matches. Nori Michelsen, Tabilo Rublev, Mahach and Mute. I mean, Mahach playing good outdoor tennis to start the year. So if he can kind of find that a little bit, he might be able to come out. He did get rolled by Sinner, so I don't know if he really pushes Sinner, but he's got a chance to beat Mute if he gets through Nava. Buse, again, like we talked about, really hoping he's going to be able to put up some resistance against Sinner, kind of announce himself to the tennis world. He is only, we did talk about that, 21 years old. He's ranked 63 right now, so he's going to be a staple in on the tour for a while now. Tabilo Rublev, Tabilo able to get that big win over Jodar. Very surprising. Coming off the clay, we weren't sure how he was going to adjust at Indian Wells, and he adjusted just fine, beating Jodar in under an hour. If he can beat Komasana and get to Rublev, maybe he's able to push Rublev a little bit. And then Michelsen Bellucci is going to be a really tough match, I think. And if Michelsen is able to get through that, playing Cam Norrie, Cam Norrie making it out to the quarterfinals, losing to Alcaraz, I believe. Yes, Alcaraz at Indian Wells. So we'll have to see what he offers here. Norrie likes the slower courts of Indian Wells more so than these courts in Miami, so maybe those will favor Michelsen. Michelsen obviously going to have the home crowd with him too, but let me know what you guys think. That's all I got. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. Share the video. Share your picks in the comments. I do have another video out about all the other first round matches that were not including the qualifiers. And I also have a video out of my predictions for the entire tournament. Make sure you check those out to keep up on everything tennis. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next video.